As Kurt Nimmo writes, Democrats are going gaga over Obama's Supreme Court pick Elena Kagan. Democrats praised Kagan as razor-sharp and impeccably qualified for the lifetime appointment on the 9-member bench, but Republicans promised to vigorously vet a surprising choice, noting she had never been a judge. I've selected a nominee who I believe embodies excellence, independence, integrity, yada yada, said Obama at the White House. Is Kagan an independent? Hardly. She is a bankster operative. Kagan sat on a Goldman Sachs advisory council between 2005 and 2008. It was her job to offer, quote, analysis and advice to Goldman Sachs and its clients. Obama mouthpiece Gibbs and the DOJ now engaged in frenetic damage control over Kagan's Goldman connections. Kagan's role working for the great vampire squid wrapped around the face of humanity, as Matt Taibbi described Goldman in Rolling Stone, shouldn't be dismissed lightly. Kagan will obviously serve the interests of the banksters if she makes it to the Supreme Court, adding to the corporatist influence already well entrenched there. The GOP would need to hammer Kagan on this during her confirmation hearing, but then again, the Republicans are the right hand on the zombie one-party grocery clerk known as Congress. Difficult questions will not be asked. Interestingly enough, I found it quite amusing that the one early video I could find covering Kagan was a Bloomberg report, and their reporter is Juliana Goldman.
Good morning, Betty. Well, the announcement's expected right around 10 in the morning. Elena Kagan has already arrived here on the White House grounds. Now, in terms of what this means for business, as Solicitor General, she really doesn't have that much of a paper trail, so it's tough to glean. But the general consensus is that Justice Stevens, who she would be replacing if she is confirmed, which does look likely, is that he was sort of the least business-friendly voice on the Supreme Court. So any replacement was going to be marginally more friendly toward business. But Kagan, for the president, what he was really looking for in this appointment was somebody who was going to be a bridge builder, someone who was going to be able to secure that swing vote of Justice Kennedy. Especially that point was driven home after the Citizens United case, which allows corporations to buy political ads. The president lashed out at that during his State of the Union. And Elena Kagan has that reputation as a bridge builder. At Harvard, where she was the dean of the law school, she fought to hire conservative faculty members. She also, when she was an advisor to Bill Clinton, she helped forge a compromise with Republican Senator John McCain on FDA regulation of tobacco companies. And now, as Solicitor General, many of her arguments that she shaped have been based on investor protections and shareholder protections, and she's also fighting to uphold the convictions of Jeff Skilling and Conrad Black. Now, Betty, the caveat to that is that as Solicitor General, she'd be arguing whatever the government's case is, and she's also probably going to have to end up recusing herself from a number of cases next year because she's forged some of the helped formulate some of those arguments. So we'll have to really watch and see what comes out in terms of her business interests during this confirmation hearings this summer.
See, even Juliana Goldman, reporting for Bloomberg, even has trouble spitting it out because she wants to say she's another bankster operative, and none of this should be surprising, and it didn't take long for all the other unsurprising things to come out, like, in addition to the attacks on free speech, detainee rights, and the close connections to Goldman Sachs, another noteworthy black mark on the record of Elena Kagan, the president's nominee to SCOTUS, is that she played a significant part in the killing off of the efforts of 9/11 victims' families to bring lawsuits against members of the Saudi royal family for their financial links to the conspiracy. Last year, thousands of family members filed suits claiming Saudi Arabia and 4 of its princes actively aided in financing the terrorist attacks through front groups posing as charities. And remember, of course, the dozen-plus blacked-out pages from the 9/11 report concerning the Saudis. More on this from Raw Story. Kagan helped shield Saudis from 9/11 lawsuits, but of course one contingent hopes Kagan hearings revisit the 9/11 case, and that would be the 9/11 victims' families. But again, we can get further into later all the other things, all our other writings that are now coming out. Disappear free speech if government deems it offensive. Even Chief Justice Roberts noting that Kagan may allow censorship of radio, TV, pamphlets, and posters. Kagan argued against Second Amendment in a gun case, and mycatbirdseat.com notes that Kagan and the Supreme Court and the barnyard smell of Chicago, Harvard, and D.C. Elena Kagan, Wall Street's choice for Supreme Court.